And now, the Wad Fam Chalk Pod.
Hello and welcome to the Wad Fam Chalk Pod. I'm Dylan Weaver.
And I'm Andrew Sabo.
And we're back this week to talk about episode 331, Checkmate.
Yeah, this a dark one. This a the bad news.
Yeah.
Do I have a good Jar Jar? I don't think I do. This a
was
bad
not a good
news.
Jar Jar. Better.
Yeah.
At least I knew that one was Jar Jar, but you also did set it up as being Jar Jar. The wiki states that this is the first episode from this album to get the parental warning, which I thought was interesting.
There was no parental warning on the AIO Club, though.
Correct. Because I think usually the parental warnings are only on the radio versions, not the album versions.
But sometimes they are. And I figured that if this...
I realize.
Yeah.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be consistency there. But yeah, I don't know if there are any episodes on the AIO Club that have a warning at the beginning. I'd be curious to know.
But I can go listen to like one of the counter moves ones that I know has it.
Yeah.
That's a side point.
Yeah. So this episode first aired September 16th of 1995. It was written by Paul McCusker and Phil Lawler and directed by Phil Lawler.
Cool. Affirmative.
Yeah.
Nuts. This actually, I do want to say something off the top. This episode has a very strange soundtrack. It's a very odd score. It's good.
Are you okay?
It's very different.
Say, I really like the beginning score.
It feels a bit more like Last Chance Detectives or something like that.
Yeah, no, that's fair. All right. Other notes. This episode was It's episode 8 off of Darkness Before Dawn. I feel like that's kind of irrelevant at this point, but in case you cared. And actor-wise, we have the kind of our normal cast we've had throughout all this, with the addition of Rob Daniels voicing Reverend Andrew Jameson, and Angelo Sales voicing William Ross. Both characters in the kind of flashback portion of this episode.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting. I couldn't quite tell if it was a separate voice actor or if it was somebody else that was just doing a really good job.
Oh, like you thought they might both be the same voice actor?
No, I couldn't tell if it was like, Phil Lawler or somebody like that just putting on a really good voice.
No, it is. It's actually the same voice actors that were in the Underground Railroad episodes, playing those characters, which makes perfect sense.
Good on you, Odyssey, for giving us some continuity.
Yeah, every once in a while it happens.
It's there somewhere.
Yeah. Otherwise, I think it's promo time.
Promo time.
Is there anything else important to hit off the top here?
Not for the good of the order, that's not.
Stop trying to make that happen.
It's never gonna work.
Odyssey may never be the same after the next adventure in Odyssey. Dr. Regis Blackgaard has Wits End under siege, and the Bones of Wrath are trying to overrun the town. But a trip back in time helps Eugene uncover clues to Blackgaard's sinister schemes, while help comes from a most unlikely source. All on the next adventure in Odyssey.
That might be the worst music choice we've had.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do they even know what, like, do they even listen to the words that are being said when they make the music? They have to. Somebody must have thought, that's the idea. We're gonna make it sound like a carnival advertisement, and then just have Wits End is under siege.
Yeah.
What?
Yep.
Even the voice actor sounds way too serious, or way too cheery.
Yeah, no, it's not good. In juxtaposition, the music that this episode begins with is really good.
Yeah, no, it's dynamite. It's really good. I mean, I don't know if, are you going to keep in the bit where we talked about the Last Chance Detectives?
I assume so. I guess we already talked about the music.
Yeah.
All right, my bad.
So anyway, this episode begins with Glossman and Blackgaard kind of being in the are they in the Harlequin?
They are in the Harlequin.
Yeah, so
because
they're in the
Blackgaard's
Harlequin,
mad about
and
that.
Blackgaard, like Glossman's like, oh well, you won, great job, like it's all done, and then Blackgaard's like, no, it's not all done, no, we didn't win, and Glossman's like, well, why? You're winning in the election, and Wits End's closed down, and Blackgaard's like, well, one, I don't care about the election, and two, I can't do what I want at Wits End because there are still employees allowed on the premises.
Yep. Yeah. Basically, Glossman's gloating, and Blackgaard's not having it.
Yeah. And
we also find out in that exchange, Glossman reveals that Blackgaard is leading against Tom in the polls, which is insane.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I guess with the recall and the vandalism, honestly, if I were the uninformed citizens of Odyssey, I might fall for that, to be honest with you.
Okay. All right. Well, everyone knows where Andrew stands.
But it does not reflect that of the Wad Fam Chalk Pod. It's important to note. Maybe it's not important to note, but...
Yeah. But yeah, his big thing is he wants no one else within 100 yards of Wits End.
Mm-hmm.
And so we go then to a meeting of the Israelites, which is just Jason, Billy, Sam, and Lucy. Jason kind of explains what their new approach of going on offense instead of defense, and that they are going to Billy and Sam are going to go to the Bones hideout that they found out about from Butch, while Lucy goes to keep a lookout at the Bones at the bowling alley. They'll keep in contact through Jason's cellular phone and Billy's pager because it's 95.
Yep. Gotta love them pagers. Can you text with a pager? Yeah.
I'm never entirely sure what a pager does.
I had a pager.
Does it just alert you that X person wants you, or can you actually send messages?
So
this is where I'm too young.
You can send messages to pagers from not pagers that I know of, but I think that there are some pagers that are equipped to send messages. So, because I had a pager when I worked at the hospital, and that's how like the boss would communicate with us. It'd be like,
right. But what did pagers look like in the 90s? Because you couldn't.
I mean, my pager might have been from the 90s, bro. It was so old. It was really old. Now I want to know what pagers look like in the 90s.
Yeah, they do. So you have one-way pagers and two-way pagers.
Yeah.
And they send messages back and forth, according to the internet.
Good to know.
Yeah. Anyways, cool.
So basically, the thing that I didn't understand, so they're only talking about taking the offensive in regards to the Bones of Wrath.
As opposed to
just like, so the Israelites aren't, at least in my understanding, they weren't founded to combat the Bones of Wrath directly. They were founded to do random acts of good, and that was in isolation from the Bones of Wrath, and therefore like giving good news and giving hope and doing that. Like, it was independent from the Bones, and then now it seems that it's less about the work and more about the Bones.
Correct. I mean, the refounding of them was to combat. So the initial founding of the Israelites was just to do good deeds. Mm-hmm. When Jack refounded them, it was to indirectly combat the Bones' bad deeds by doing good deeds. Basically, if there's a gang going around causing ruckus, we're going to be the gang that goes around and does good. And since Jason's taken it over, it has very much just become that they are in direct conflict.
Yeah, they're
with
like
the
counter-terrorist organization rather than
Bones.
like, janitors.
Like the bones do something bad, they go clean it up. That's what they've been doing.
Yeah. And so now they're
then
them
the
being
Bones
aggressive
then
is
turned
what?
on them. So yeah, this is Jason taking things a step further and saying, rather than just waiting for the Bones to do something bad and then we go and try and fix it, because that's not working, because they've been undoing our good deeds as well. That's kind of been their new thing, and now we're getting blamed for the bad stuff, as we saw 2 episodes ago. And so now Jason's like, all right, we're going to do this by going and taking on basically striking them before they can strike us, but not in the way he pitches it initially. Makes it sound like, oh no, this is going to be this is going to be really like corrupt. And what ends up happening is like still feels like it's kind of in line with the Israelites. Like they're not like abandoning their moral compass.
Okay, I guess so. Yeah, that makes sense. So
they're
their whole plan is to
extending what they're
get
doing,
intel.
but it's not like they are completely changing gears from everything they believe.
Yeah.
Like they still stand for not doing harm but doing good.
But they are digging up dirt, literally
Correct.
and figuratively, on the Bones.
Yes. That is kind of the plan, is to get info, see if they've got like a book of plans at their hideout, and to use that.
That would be incredibly convenient.
Yeah, it would. Stranger things have happened, but it would be weird. So we then jump back to Wits End, to a short exchange between Eugene and Connie.
Where Eugene just like explodes.
What do you mean he explodes?
Well, Connie comes up to him and is like, what are you doing? Like, you've been, whatever. And then Eugene's like, well, I've got to do this because, like, it's all about, like he talks really fast and really aggressively, basically being like, I need to figure out more about this element. I'm going to use the imagination station to help figure it out. And then Connie's like, well, what makes you think that the tunnel has anything to do with it? And then Eugene starts talking like, oh, well, like, why is Glossman doing this now? Like, what's going on now? What's special about it now? And Connie's like, well, because Wit's not here. And he's like, no, that wouldn't have stopped him before. There's something else going on, and we need to figure it out.
The point he actually makes is that Wit's been gone for a while.
Yeah.
But there was kind of an inciting incident wherein then Glossman decided to take charge.
Yeah.
But also, as we've talked about in previous episodes, that logic is really weird.
Yeah. I don't get it.
It's also just like, like the Blackgaard's whole plan was to gain access to the tunnel, but they were only able to do that because Jason decided that he wanted to open the tunnel for reasons.
Yeah.
So
how would they have done it without him? That would be my question.
Right. I don't know. I mean, they could theoretically dig up this same stuff. Like, were they already plotting this out and then Jason just beat them to the punch? Because, like, Blackgaard was already planning on coming back before Jason decided to open the tunnel. Like, the ball was already in motion at that point.
Yeah.
It's just...
I think that they probably would have just planted evidence, right?
Maybe? Yeah,
that would have been
know.
what they would have had to have done. They would have had to do an edge biter situation, get Wits End closed down.
And that's still basically what they do.
Yeah.
Because Eugene's like, well, my tests showed that there was nothing interesting about these minerals. And then later in the episodes, Glossman's like, they're poisonous and you're all going to die. So I'm taking over.
And I'm powerful because state government?
Yeah, he's got the backing of 7 different county, state, and local departments. That's a direct quote.
Thank you for writing that down. And also, wow, that's some big energy. If only we had a former secret agent.
Yeah, but we don't have one of those.
No, certainly not.
When you cease to be a secret agent, the only thing you're allowed to do is manipulate a bunch of kids into being spies.
Yeah,
but, like,
and
bad
cleaning
spies.
Stuff.
Yeah. And so
The only way that you could enjoy this arc is if you detach your fact from that they're just literally just sending kids to war. Like,
yeah,
like-
it's bad on both sides.
I mean,
And then
I'll get ahead of myself,
like,
but Jellyfish
show
literally
is-
threatens to abandon a child in the woods to be eaten by animals.
yes, I mean, but Jellyfish is a bad guy.
But, like, also, Odyssey was like, I'm gonna write this and put it in the script. Like, beating up a child would be one thing. Literally,
They already did that.
Yeah, they
already
did that.
beat up. They already beat up Butch.
But Lucy's younger than Butch, presumably, right?
No, I don't. I think they're about the same age.
Yeah, it's, I don't feel great about it.
Yeah,
Don't feel great.
you know. And so yeah. Eugene's gonna use the Imagination Station program he whipped up last episode to go back into the history of Wits End and learn about that and record his findings. And when Connie asks what she can do to help, Eugene asks for her to pray for him.
And it's so cute!
It is a nice moment, but it also just made me wish that we could have got an episode of Eugene kind of dealing with his, like, all the change that happened in the previous one.
Yeah. I think that Eugene's... and maybe it is explored later, but I think Eugene's walk of faith afterwards would be very interesting to get a lot more information on. Like, his reconciliation with science and all of that. Like, I know that he kind of drops in it. Like, I think in the Truth Chronicles he talks maybe a little bit about it.
Gotcha.
But
Yeah, I'm unfamiliar with those episodes.
I would love to have Odyssey have a character that is very pro-science and a very devout believer.
Yeah, I'm into it. So, yeah.
Then we go to the Bones at Bowling, right?
Yep. Lucy calls Jason to tell him that, you know, they're bowling and they're not actually half bad. And we cut over to Rusty and Rodney while they discuss their plan, explaining that they are a diversion so that the rest of the Bones can go out and do stuff. Which, honestly, Jason and the Israelites should have known this because this is their constant MO.
Yeah.
It's
The
like,
movie
oh,
theater, the
we
library,
can't... Right.
always have an
We
alibi.
can't get caught because we have an alibi. And so they should have been like, all right, you know, where are the rest of the Bones? Or if the Bones are bowling, that probably means that that's not all the Bones because, you know, that's how this has worked up until this point. Why should it be different now?
This is the fourth time.
Yeah.
That's a fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me a third time, still shame on me. Fool me a fourth time, how the heck did this happen again?
Yep.
Oh, and by the way,
Fool me a fifth time,
child
you'll
spy
never fool
again.
me again.
Child spy again. Like,
Yeah.
this is Butch 2.0. Like, new patch, it's a girl now, and they did it again, and the same
Yeah.
thing happened.
Yeah, and so Rodney and Rusty see Lucy, and they're like, and Rusty's like, "Does Lucy bowl?" And Rodney's like, "No, she's spying on us." And
Rodney
and he
is
goes
the voice
over.
of reason for once.
Yeah. I guess he doesn't go over and talk to her yet because this episode cuts around constantly.
Yeah, I
So
take
our-
different notes for like I have a special like insignia for each scene, and
Whoa.
yeah, it's the only
Look
way I
at
can
Andrew.
keep track
It's
of
like
things.
he's been doing this for like 2 years or something.
I've actually been doing this. I've been using this form since almost the very beginning.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Because you are very disorganized when we started.
Yeah. It was definitely during Novacom. All I do is I hyphenate scene changes with the characters and the location, and then I have notes on the scene underneath it.
Fancy.
And then if there's like a plot point, I'll put like an asterisk before it, and then do that.
Whoa. Sign up for our Patreon to see Andrew's notes. And so we
They
then...
will be explicit at times. Be prepared.
brace yourselves. Our Patreon is 18 and over.
Yeah.
And so yeah, then we jump to Billy and Sam looking in at the hideout. The door is unlocked. The hideout is, quote, disgusting. And there's just a brief scene of them walking around, unable to find information and just grossed out by the state of the hideout. And then we leave that scene.
Yeah.
To Connie and Jason talking about Eugene and the fact that he's been in the Imagination Station for hours and only came out to drink a glass of water and pee. And then he went back in, and we go back in with him, where he has not gotten a lot of information. And we get to see a scene of him with the characters from the Underground Railroad episodes.
Yeah, the Reverend and whatever the other guy's name was. Basically, like, the brief introduction. The sound engineering in this episode is dynamite. I mean, we talked about the soundtrack, the score, but the sound engineering of the Imagination Station is so good. Like, kind of like the fast forwarding a, cassette tape type sound.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good. And, yeah, so they do a good job in that there's, like, so he catches a bit about the mineral, right? Is that now or is that later?
Yeah, so this is like the big moment of
Yeah.
Eugene's watching a scene that he's like, okay, I've already seen this. And William Ross mentions that, like, he's like, that wound is almost healed. What did you do to it? And then it's at that point that Reverend Andrew's like, it's a thing we found out that, like, the Native Americans,
The Indians,
that use what is it? Some sort of herb and also a mineral from the tunnel.
Yeah.
And
then Eugene's like,
"Wah!" What? I've never heard this before. This is exciting. And then we jump back to the bowling alley.
Yep. And the cuts are good because they do the whole thing where it's like they cut with a dramatic sound effect. Like later when they vandalize Wit's End, they cut with breaking glass.
I just said spoiler. It was a joke.
Oh, yeah, my bad. Anyway, yeah, so it's very interesting, and then, it goes back to the Bones hideout, right?
Well, no, it goes to Rodney and Rusty confronting Lucy. We didn't talk about that scene yet.
Yes.
And so Rodney kind of plays this whole part that actually he sells incredibly well. He walks up to Lucy and he's like, hey, look, like, I know what you're doing. I know you're spying on me. What would you say if, I maybe told someone about the new or like if someone told you about the Bones' new hideout, because, maybe someone is fed up with his gang being taken away from them. And it's just like, Rodney is playing the part really well. Lucy, just because of her being like journalist kid, does a really good job in responding, and like it's just a fun scene. And then Rusty's there being like, Rodney, don't say that. It's
really good. And because we didn't talk about it before, it's very interesting because they do a good job of setting it up that this is something that Rodney actually has issues with, because their conversation with Butch earlier before they confronted Lucy was basically him being like, I want my gang back, I want this, and then he comes up to Lucy, and so as the audience you think, oh, clearly this is genuine, like he's willing to backstab Jellyfish. And maybe he was. Maybe the result of that was not entirely false.
Yeah. Or he's at least playing it from a very genuine place. So yeah, like Rodney just sells it really well and is like, all right, let's go to the new hideout. And decides to take Lucy, and Lucy, after a little bit of waffling, is like, all right, like, I'm gonna do this. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
And then we cut to the old Bones hideout where Billy's like, all right, Sam, we gotta, now that we know we can't find plans, we still gotta do our thing. And Sam's like, are we gonna vandalize this place? And he's like, no, we're gonna clean it.
Yeah.
because we're the Israelites.
And that's what we do. Get out your soft scrub and your scrapey brushes. We're going to town.
Those are technical terms, Chalk Squad.
Your scrapey brushes. I mean, soft scrub is actually a thing, and I use it quite often.
And then and then we jump back to Eugene. He is now, like, before when he was going through things, he was just kind of playing the observer role in these adventures, but he now hops out to confront Reverend Andrew directly, which is just, it's one of those things that, like, you just got to be like, okay, this works. Like, let's not get into the nitty gritty on what in the world is happening here. Just be like, yeah, sure. Like, it's a time machine.
Yeah, so it's a movie, and then it can be. I think that there's like in my experience, it's like the equivalent of, okay, you can watch a simulation of like you can put two AI against each other in like Madden or something like that, or you can play as one of the teams.
Gotcha.
And my assumption is that he was just watching simulations before, and now he's actually in it.
Yeah. So he stops. He hops out and is in the burned remains of Reverend Andrew's house, which was and the Reverend comes out and is like, "Hey, what are you doing here? Get off my property!" And Eugene's like, "Actually, I'm a scientist and I know William Ross. So can you answer some questions?" And so then that scene ends.
Yeah.
Because we got to keep moving.
Yep.
And it's we hear jellyfish and presumably other bones throwing rocks through the windows at Wit's End.
Yeah, well, let's tell the Israelites what we think of Wit's End or something like that. And because Connie and Jason are sitting in there talking, and then they throw the rocks through, and that is a shatter. Like, that is a big picture window that just busted.
Yes, sir.
I always imagined that Wit's End had a big picture window, like, because I have a big picture window in my living room, and for some reason I just always imagined it had like the same thing.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
We imagine what we know, and so.
But then is it really imagining?
I can only imagine.
Imagine there's no heaven. Sorry.
No. You do you, man. You said on a previous episode that we would not hear you sing again.
Dang it!
Here we are.
I am a man of my word, but I suppose my desire to voice my ill-equipped pipes is too great. Anyway.
Guess so.
So there's the vandalism, the glass breaks, and then it cuts back to Eugene, right?
Yes.
That was the aforementioned spoiler that
Right, and so Eugene's talking to the Reverend about the minerals, and just as the Reverend's starting to kind of explain what's going on there, it starts glitching out, and then it shuts off.
Yep. Yeah, he's like, this is it, and it's like, and then he cuts out.
The locals know it as, but I think it's actually called.
That's actually really funny because the Zoom call cut out a little bit while you were saying that.
Very nice. And so he hops out, and there's like a full out battle when he exits.
Yeah. No, it's he's like, I can't get out, and all this stuff, and he's like super frazzled when he gets out. And they're like,
the kids say frazzed now.
They do, and I am a kid. Yes.
Yeah, cool. You're one of the youths.
I'm a youth at this point. When I was younger, my mom would my mom would always, or maybe it was my grandma, would ask me if I thought that she was old, and I would say, no, mom, or no, grandma, you're not old, you're youthful. And I didn't quite know exactly what I was saying at the time because I was like 9, but it's pretty cold.
Speaking of 9, there are children here.
Yes.
So we jump ahead to Wit's End with some serious damage done.
Yeah. Jason says it looks like a war zone.
Yeah, and they're all kind of chatting. it's Billy and Sam and Connie Eugene and Jason are all kind of just like, oh man, that was a lot. And, now we've called the police, but, what are they going to do? And we can't prove it was the bones because they were at bowling. And yeah, this is bad. And then someone's like, oh yeah, I wonder how Lucy's thing. Oh, Lucy!
Yeah, where's Lucy? Although I would say, so does Wits End have security cameras in the parking lot or not?
No. Security cameras are a much later addition to Wits End as
That's
covered
during
in Novacom.
Yes.
Because that is a big controversy.
Yeah. Yeah, I remembered that when I was thinking it, but I was like, I wonder if they have them in the parking lot, though.
No. I mean, no. It would be nice.
I mean,
no.
my former place of business was a place that only had one security camera in the parking lot. They didn't have any security cameras inside.
Does Wits End even have a parking lot? Like, in my imagination, no.
Well, it used to be a rec center, so I feel like it would have to, but maybe not. I don't know. I've only been to one rec center extensively, and it has a huge parking lot, so.
Yeah, fair enough. And so we then cut to Lucy. We cut to Jellyfish talking with Rodney and Rusty, and Lucy's trapped inside, and, Jellyfish is like, what did you do, Rodney? Why did you do this? He's like, oh no, it's great. Like, we're gonna get her to spill all the secrets. And Lucy's like, and Jellyfish is like, no, this is a bad idea. We've now kidnapped her. And Rodney's like, but we haven't. She just, she went here of her own will. And he's like, well, we can't, how you want us to coerce stuff out of her? You want me to torture her? And Rodney's like, no, just scare her. And then they scare her. And it's a really rough scene.
Yeah, no, it's basically
Jenny Long is doing an incredible job. Let us point that out.
Yeah.
But she sounds so timid in a way that, like, Lucy's normally, like, so bullish and whatnot. That it's just like, oh no, you're a child. That's right. I forget sometimes.
Yeah,
and
you're
Jellyfish
like 12.
is a hardened criminal.
Yep.
He's been to jail.
Yep. And presumably killed somebody. Presumably.
Yeah. And so he's like, oh, you don't want to go home. You got to give us information or you'll have to go home in the dark. And you wouldn't want to do that. And Rodney and Rusty can't get you home because they're dumb. And so, so tell us the information and then I'll get you home. And boy, is that uncomfortable.
It's rough.
It's, once again, it is a child and two other children with a grown man alone in a cave in the woods.
Yeah, that part doesn't hold up great.
It's really rough.
I know that they're the bad guys, and I know that they're not painted in a good light. But
but
Odyssey,
they're still painted.
But mad respect for Odyssey for being like, nah, we ain't playing it safe on this one.
Yeah, I mean, for the record, like, I imagine this is the sort of thing that, like, Scooby-Doo does as well. Like, it's yeah.
Wait, are the members of Scooby-Doo, like the team, the gang, are they children? Those are adults. Right?
I mean, the high school probably.
They look an awful lot like at least adult, like
maybe
at least
they
legal
are older
adults.
than that. You know what? You might be, but we would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you dang kids.
Oh heck!
I mean, they're young enough to be considered kids by every person they thwart.
So, like, they're like 15 max.
Yeah, I mean, Shaggy's got facial hair.
Maybe he's Italian.
But, well,
I knew an 8th grader with a full beard, man.
It happens. And so, yeah. Oh, so, there's this whole conflict, and then all of a sudden, Rodney and Rusty drop to the ground with an electric sound.
Yep.
And Maxwell reveals himself and then tases Jellyfish.
Yep. It's like, it's a
and
rescue.
Maxwell's back. Yeah. And it threw me off so much because, like, obviously we had that whole thing of Lucy and Maxwell kind of reconciling and whatnot, or at least, like, her forgiving him. But she is, like, the first person to not react negatively to an appearance by Richard Maxwell.
Exactly.
Because, like, everyone else would be like, you saved me, but it was only to benefit yourself, wasn't it, Maxwell? Like, who cares that you just took out my 3 assailants? You're actually going to kill me now. And Lucy's just like, oh, hi, Richard. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks. You're a real champ.
Yeah.
You're a real hero. Actually, kind of, yeah. He does rescue her.
And then we have our penultimate scene.
Yep.
Imagination Station's not starting up due to some blown fuses, so they got to get those replaced. And then Glossman shows up in all of his glory.
Yep.
Referring to them as Jason Whittaker and minions.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jace, it's like this.
I eat nothing but butter and I don't know what other gross thing people like. Never mind. He sounds sleazy. He sounds really gross. He sounds like he uses like mobster hair product, whatever that is. I'm presuming Brill Cream, but that's just me. Brill Cream, if you want to sponsor me, that'd be awesome. But you know.
And so, he explains that his testing has shown that the minerals are toxic, and they all have to get out of there immediately.
Yeah, he's basically like, and then Jason's like, well, no, you can't do that, like, you know, yeah, you already shut us down, but, like, you can't kick us out, and then that's where we get the whole, oh, but I've got everybody in the state behind me, or at least a lot of people, and people over Tom Riley, and people, you know, I'm untouchable, you just gotta get out. And Jason's finally like, well
right,
done.
well, and they go through the whole thing of like, well, you can't tell us to get out of our building, and he's like, yes, but, or he's like, Jason says like, I take responsibility for any injuries in this building, and Glossman's like, yeah, but you can't take responsibility for injuries that happen to and from Wits End.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, sure. I don't know enough law to understand if this is sound, but regardless, it works. And so they all clear out within a 100-meter radius. Mm-hmm. And we end on Blackgaard very excitedly talking about the fact that they've got this place, they've got the tunnel, they've got access to a service road so no one can see people coming or going. And he tells Glossman to tell Jellyfish to bring the truck over, because the professor is going to begin his excavation.
Yep.
Dun dun dun.
And then, well, no, this is when Blackgaard goes, check and mate.
And then they laugh maniacally.
Roll credits.
Yep.
And then the Chris outro is basically like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen?
Right. Yep. Good episode.
Very
Big
plot
fan.
Dense. Yeah,
exactly. It is just right. It's just once again like, hey, we're gonna blow through things and set things in motion.
Yeah. We're coming down to the wire. How many more episodes of Blackgaard do we have?
3 more of Darkness Before Dawn, and then Blackgaard's Revenge is a 2-parter.
Yeah.
Home stretch, folks.
So I don't remember specifically, but is the I don't remember actually what Blackgaard does, but I'm presuming the mineral under Wits End, and from what I heard, I think it has something to do with Rukuta, because it sounds kind of like that's what he's saying.
You're saying
in the when it
flashback?
glitches out in the Imagination Station.
Okay.
So I don't remember. This will be an interesting experience because I genuinely have no clue as to how this is going to end and what Blackgaard's actual goal is in all of this. Because I genuinely thought that he wanted to be mayor for a little bit. I was like, yes.
But no, he doesn't even care about mayor. It's all been about Wits End.
Yep.
And not just taking it down, but taking it over. Dun, dun, dun. But yeah. I don't have a ton to say about this episode because it's just like
it's
just like, hey, stuff's happening and kids are in peril.
Yeah,
and
I do have things to say about kids in peril. I also think that this episode is a excellent example of non-lethal force used to terminate a threat.
Yes.
Just
Yes,
throwing
sir.
that one out there.
3 men tased. With a electric stunner purchased at the Electric Palace.
Yeah.
Which I love that Maxwell does that little ad.
Yeah. I got it at the Electric Palace.
It's really funny.
Spatula City.
You should get one of these for yourself, Lucy.
Buy 9 and get the 10th for just 1 penny.
Some Spatula City.
Yes.
Tweet at us if you get that joke, people.
Yes, please, actually. If you got that.
Specifically
and I don't
tweet at
know
Andrew.
You,
but
and I don't know you in real life. My Twitter handle is, what is it? What is it, Dylan?
I think it's Andrew_Sabo.
Let me check. Yep, Andrew_Sabo. There you go.
Look at that.
A as in apple, C as in cat, E as in egg, B as in boy, O as in ostrich. Do we want to do the discussion questions?
I don't know. What are the discussion questions, Andrew? Oh, actually, let me look at them. Do you think Butch should be blamed for his decision to tell on the Israelites? What do you mean Butch told on the Israelites? What does that question mean?
I don't know.
Butch isn't even in this episode.
Yeah.
Is he? No, he's not. Do you think Butch should be blamed for his decision to tell on the Israelites? Tweet at us or send us an email or like a voice memo if you know what that means.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about it next week because
Yeah.
that's one of the discussion questions on the AIO wiki. And I just don't understand it.
No comprehension. I have no clue what that means. Do we have any
did
reviews
Butch
or anything like that?
I don't think Butch turned on the Israelites.
No, he didn't. No, he got beaten up because they found him out. That's it. He didn't give them any information, did he? They just found out.
I didn't think so. I don't know. Well, yeah. Let us know what you guys think that question means. We can talk about that next week. Also, I actually that's a decent segue into my. I just wanted to bring up. So we are on the home stretch of our Darkness Before Dawn discussion, and we will be doing a big ol' wrap-up episode on a lot of Blackgaard stuff in the near future. And so if you guys, as listeners, have questions that you want to send in via email or voicemail or even tweet them at us about just larger picture Blackgaard stuff, our thoughts on certain things, weird fan theories, whatever.
Your favorite Blackgaard moment?
Yeah, we'd love to try and incorporate that stuff into our grand finale. I just think that would be a fun thing to try and do. And if not, whatever. But if you feel so inclined, drop us a line. The links are always in the show notes. If you listen on Spotify, I'm sorry, there are no show notes. Spotify is rough that way. Just go to anchor.fm/WadFamChalkPod.
Hey. With that being said, do you have anything to promote? Any closing thoughts? Anything at all?
I am not promoting anything this week. Do you?
No.
Have anything you want to promote?
No.
Okay. Any last words?
It's been a delight. I'm really excited to see where this goes. I am genuinely confused as to what's going to happen, as is the case in all aspects of my life, but
Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
And so, we'll be back in a week to talk about episode 332, Another Chance. Goodbye, folks.
Bye, guys.
WadFam Chalk Pod is a presentation of the Lidditz Podcast Co-op. This show is a fan podcast and has no official affiliation with Adventures in Odyssey or Focus on the Family. As such, the copyright is ours under Creative Commons. Follow the podcast at WadFamChalkPod on Twitter and Instagram, or email us at wadfamchalkpod@gmail.com. Checkmate was hosted by Dylan Weaver and Andrew Sabo, and edited by Dylan Weaver. And I'm Nathan Haverstick, hoping you'll join us again next time for more of the WadFam Chalk Pod.